very good afternoon to you and welcome to Markets Today. It's the first week of the trading week. It's also the last day of the month of August, 31st of August. I hope you are as excited as we are to get into a new month, the month of September, which begins tomorrow. I am your host, Mbithe Mwema. I'll be taking you through the details and the highlights of what happened last week on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. It has been a season of finances coming through in terms of the banks and other sectors announcing half-year results. In studio after the break, we will be having a deep dive and trying to understand what are the key drivers in the banking sector. For the rest of the week, we will also be touching on the other sectors to get a better understanding what are the key drivers and most importantly, what is the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the numbers that we are seeing today. But to start us off, we start off with the Ask Me The segment, which is our simplified segment where we look at the market statistics for last week, and we also invite you to engage with us and ask us anything that you'd like us to answer. Anything to do with investments, anything to do with the conversation that we are having today. We are available on all social media platforms, that is Metropole TV or Markets Today on Metropole TV, or you could actually reach out to me as well, that's Mbithe Mwema. Let's take an overview of what was happening on the NSE on Friday. Our charts are coming up there. We can be able to see the NSE performance. We had the indices moving up on the close of the week last week on Friday. The all share was up 1.5 percentage points. It closed at 138.74. NSE 20 was up 22.58 points. It closed at 1,793 points. NSE 25 share closed at 3,186 points. Now, what we saw towards the end of last week was the foreign investors changing from a net sell to a net buying position. If you have been an avid follower of Markets Today, you have heard me say countless times and over again that the month of August is the month when the foreign investors take a break. Foreign investors are 65% of the market trading. They had taken a break, which is really the summertime for them, but then at the tail end of the month, they started coming back. What we saw last week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the net foreigners actually turned into net buyers, meaning that they were buying more equities than they were sellers on the exchange. This has actually supported the performance that we are seeing here on Friday, and we expect to see a similar trend, but we will be watching just to get a sense of where to expect the market to get into as we start in the new month of September. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so we have our top movers there. Safaricom was the top mover with 11.73 million shares traded. Equity Group Holdings, 3.79 million shares traded. KCB came in at a third, trailing Equity Bank at 2.3 million shares that were traded. We also had some interesting interest on Bamburi Cement, 1.985 million shares traded. Kenya Power and Lighting, 1.77 million shares traded. Now, for the top three counters, we have seen a lot of investor interest, especially on Equity Group and KCB. Equity in the month of August, second week of August, touched a low of 28.75. Last week on Friday, it closed at 36.05. We've already seen it go up 26% in only a matter of weeks, and we saw it top trades last week at 3.7 million shares traded. Similar story when it comes to KCB. KCB traded 2.3 million. Halfway through the month of August, it touched a low of 30 shillings per share. Last week on Friday, it closed at 36.45 per share. Similar trajectory in the same case as Equity. So we have seen both counters actually attracting interest as they hit lows for the year. Current prices, we think, will probably continue to trade there range bound because there's not too much upside at this point unless there's a trigger in terms of positive news that comes through the market. Bamburi Cement, a huge trade going through this particular stock, which closed at a new low of 20 shillings per share. The company announced some very positive numbers driven by a reduction in their operating expenses. The top line was pretty weak, but the key driver for the bottom line was the tax credit that they got in the year, coupled with the fact that the corporate tax rate reduced from a 30% rate to 25% rate. That said, at the 20 shilling mark, we are seeing opportunities for a bit of speculative buy. If you are looking for a 20 or 30% return from the point of 20 shillings, it's certainly something that you want to look into, especially on this particular Monday and as we go into the week. That's Bamburi Cement. Kenya Power, also a bit of activity. We will be looking to see if anything else happens over the week. It's also trading at a low, and there could be a speculative opportunity to look at this particular stock. Moving on to the top gainers list. Our top gainers for the last week of trading on Friday last week, we can see Nation Media was up to 13.75 shillings per share. It was a top trade for the day in terms of its gaining price momentum, 7.42 shillings per share. The results have just been published earlier today, and we will be highlighting that after the break. We have the Nairobi Securities Exchange, which was up 6.29% to 7.44. Another company that had a stellar record in terms of its earnings that it reported in the half-year result, something that I will be giving you a highlight on again after the break. Stanbic Holding up 6% to 78 shillings. Flame Tree up 5.93% to 1.4 shillings. And Kengen also up 5% to 5.92 shillings per share. Let's take a look at the top losers for the day on Friday last week. We have Uchumi there, which was down 9 percentage points. It's trading at 30 cents. Nothing much happening there in terms of trading. Olympia Capital, which is an investment company, it takes shareholder funds and makes investments on their behalf, down 6 percentage points to trade at 2.3 shillings. Nairobi Business Ventures also down 4.84 percentage points. Home Africa as well, down 4.55 to 0.42 shillings per share. Homes Africa has today announced its numbers, another miss on the earnings in terms of the last 6 months, something that I will be highlighting on, but continue to expect this stock to trade in the red even as the coming trading day starts, as well as the continuation of the week. Fahari I-Rate, 5.14 shillings, that is down 4 percentage points over the day. Stanley Fahari I-Rate has been taken over by ICEA. We await to see what public information comes out and whether the current structure of this particular company changes. What's of notable interest is that 5.14 shillings per share is actually interesting when you actually compare this to the value that sits on its books in terms of the real estate opportunities. It is trading at well below book. Question is there an opportunity? For us to answer that, we want you to keep it here on Markets Today as we seek to engage different stakeholders to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and how can you be able to make some money. We take a short break. When we come back, I will be joined by Martin Weregi. Martin is a senior financial analyst. He works with Standard Investment Bank. We will be looking at the numbers that came through the banks last week. That's Equity Bank, KCB, DTB, Standard Chartered, as well as Cooperative Bank. Over and above that, I'll be giving you a brief synopsis of some of the other results that we saw. Bamburi, NSC, as well as Home Africa that has announced earlier today. But before I take a break, I want you to be able to engage with us. Where are you watching us from? What do you want us to know? Give me a question or two, so at least tomorrow when we start our segment, I will start with you top of mind to answer your questions. We are here because of you. So give us a shout, tell us where you're watching us from, and ask us any question pertaining to today's session. We take a short break, and I will see you in a few.